Hey guys, it's Matt. This is the movie review for the Walt Frisbee movie Soul, and it's going to be very difficult for me. I mean, first of all, it's worth putting the time in. Sit back, relax. I'm going to probably be repetitive. It's going to be a little bit all over the place. This movie is absolutely worth looking at. Now, I'll leave the trailer first. You should at least watch the trailer if you haven't seen the movie. I don't think you need to see the movie to listen to this review. I'm trying to bring out there's a second and even a third level meaning in a lot of this movie. And it's absolutely worth seeing. And it's hard. There's no real spoilers either because it's just not that kind of movie. It delivers a meaning and an experience scene by scene. It's not like leading up to the final scene or anything. In fact, the ending is completely open-ended. So if anybody in the normal world has stumbled upon this video, this is the Walt Frisbee movie review, the movie Soul, released Christmas, December 25th, of course, on purpose.
Well, Matt, it was supposed to be released June, and they had to push it back because of CV.
Yeah, I know. I know that's the story. It's released on Christmas on purpose. Do I have all the hidden meanings? No. I'll share what I can. This will need another watch. I've watched it twice. The second time I watched it, so much more came out the second time with my notepad than watching it through the first time. Anybody that goes in and just the normal men and women of this world that aren't reality junkies like you and I, just will see the first level experience of this movie is very good, and you can get even some meaning that kind of comes out to your subconscious, even if you're not aware of it. But again, guys, just bear with me. This will take a while. This will take a while and be all over the place. But I mean, Walt Frisbee, you know how hardcore occult that company is at the creepy table, delivering a movie about the human soul. I mean, you know how hardcore this is to a degree with certain truths that I mean, this won't even get to the bottom of it. I'll need to revisit it again and again and come back. I've got some interesting things out of it, all right, which came the second time, which totally passed me by the first time. So let me just get right to it. If anybody's stumbling upon this video, looking for a regular Sisk and Eggbert type movie review, oh, you're on the crazy side of YouTube, okay? This is a conspiracy side. We're the reality junkies. We're going to see things a whole lot different than you would. See if we actually hit on something or we're actually crazy. So, guys, watch the trailer first. You should at least be somewhat familiar with how this movie's going to go down. I'll leave a link right at the top of the description with the trailer. Okay, part one is my overall impression or feel of this movie, the way someone with certain psychic abilities looks at somebody's aura, says, oh, I can see the good radiance around this person versus, oh, this person's bad or evil. This isn't going to sound like me. Guys, I know the Walt Frisbee company. I understand that, the creepy table, they're at the main creepy table of this reality. I understand the deception, but guys, I'm telling you, the feel of this movie is extremely positive through and through. Yeah, I've got some things in my notes that this is a little creepy and this is a little bit of a reference and some numbers and some, but overall, the feeling, and I don't believe in any way I'm getting this wrong. It is not meant to evilly deceive the human human beings, or there is some manipulation and some deception. Of course, these creeps aren't going to put out exactly what somebody needs to know to kind of put their soul on the correct path in life, but the feel is extremely positive. It is, and it is not Matt being fooled. It is. I just kept waiting for the creepy feeling to sink in or the deception to overtake the positive, and it never came. It's very, very uplifting in its overall. The message overall is very, very positive. Now, why they do this, how they do this, I don't know. Dances with Wolves was made, okay? I know there's a certain segment of this community, like everything coming out of, especially this company in Hollywood, has to be evil. And it's not always the case. for whatever reasons. Dances with Wolves was made. Okay, that's about as uplifting as you possibly can imagine. It came out of Hollywood, Kevin Costner. Even Tom Cruise, The Last Samurai is incredibly beneficial to watch and is uplifting. And this is in a similar sense. All right? Now, I highly doubt there's some embedded deception that Matt is missing here. Here's Matt talking about himself in the third person again. I just don't think... I'm just telling you the feel. I kept waiting for the dark to set in. It never came. Very, very positive overall. Well, Matt, you must be missing something. That's not... Walt Frisbee isn't capable of that. I understand. Who are you talking to here? I've been studying this a long time. I was very surprised, but I'm going to be honest with you. It never came. It was very positive and uplifting from start to finish. Sometimes they have to do this. Okay, we'll talk about that if we have time. Not everything can be dark all the time. These creeps are creeps, but they also have almost like a contractual role they have to play to help we actually benefit from these creeps, from a spiritual progression or leveling up, that sort of thing. And maybe they're maybe they've been biting off so much that something had to give back. Maybe that's how it works. The balance has to be struck with these creeps biting off all that they're biting off. This section is basic plot overview. No hidden meanings revealed. Nothing like just basic plot, assuming you've seen the trailer. Basically what happens and what an audience watching just at the first level would experience. Now, guys, I hate to know who the voices are, who the actor is behind the animated character. I hate it. Can't, because I end up just seeing that person. The only one that didn't bother me in animated movie history was Whoopi Goldberg as the hyena or whatever. You know, that was fine with me for some reason. Maybe because they're one and the same thing. I don't know. But her as the hyena. But every time I know who it is, like even knowing is it I am Groot or whatever from Guardians of the Galaxy is Vin Diesel. He's paid like what $400,000 to say I am Groot. I can't stand knowing who it is. So let me just get this out. If you don't want to know, I didn't know when I watched, but I know now. In the next 10 seconds, just mute this. I'll come back. The little new soul called 22 is Tina Fey, and the guy killed tragically is Jamie Foxx, the jazz musician. All right, I've just said who is behind the voices, and they do change I won't mention it again. They do change the voices a little bit. So if you like, I didn't know who it was, and I normally would know the voice. They absolutely just changed the voice by 15%, even though it is these actors. Okay, now it is complicated. The plot. It seems so simple in the trailer, but it is rather complicated. Starts following this guy's life. His name is Joe. He's just in a rut. Jazz musician on the side. He plays these club gigs, but he also teaches at a middle school. His life is unfulfilled, you know, but he's going to get his big break. Oh, he's going to play with is it Althea Wilson? She's a famous jazz musician, saxophone, and he's just on cloud nine. And something tragic happens, and now he's a soul. And right before his big break, right before he gets a chance to play and quote like the Duke Ellington Band, and he's so pissed, he's looking up here towards, they call it the Great Beyond, and there's an escalator that goes up towards this gigantic light. And I don't know what pictures are going to be shown me here, guys. It's better if I just describe it instead of just searching for pictures constantly. He's on an escalator here going up towards the Great Beyond. And there's nobody with him, but as he turns around, there's just tens of thousands of people that have just recently died going up towards the Great Beyond, which is this light. And I don't know how to make of this yet. Maybe we'll circle back, but he starts running down the escalator in the wrong direction, and his souls that have died go past him into the light. There's the definitive sound of a bug zapper. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what this means yet. So he says, "No way, man! This is the day of my big break." He starts running the wrong way to get out, and all the souls coming are like, "Where are you going, man? Look at the beautiful light, the Great Beyond. We want to get up there." And he turns around, and he sees them going in. They go zap, zap, bzz, 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 just like a bug hitting a zapper. And to me, I immediately went, that is significant. We'll circle back. I don't know exactly what that means. Now, overall, that's negative. That is very negative. All right, hitting the zapper. Okay, so he's just going the other direction and doing anything he can, clawing and scraping, digging holes to get out. Eventually, he falls down into. This is another scene where he's on that escalator, and these old women are like, we can't wait to get to the great beyond. Where are you going, dude? So let me see if I can find an appropriate picture. Well, kind of like this. Okay, so he gets out, falls off the escalator, and he falls all the way down to this. I don't know. It's called the Great Before. It's friendly and I don't want to say angelic. It's positive. There's no, by the way, I should have said this right from the start. There is no Christian theme to this movie whatsoever. It's religion neutral. Okay, he finds himself in the area where new souls, these little baby souls, number 22 is the one he eventually hooks up with, are going to be sent down to the portal to Earth. And there are each of these characters, they're like farmers to a degree. They just manage these little souls. They help them, give them their personality before they go to Earth. And they're also like big babysitters. They're all called Jerry. I don't know the significance of that. Every one of them is called Jerry. They manage the little souls before they go to Earth. And, the creeps love their duality, 2-into-1 religion. Everything they do is a 2-into-1 religion. So those that manage the souls, by the way, Joe's found himself here by mistake. I'll get to that in a second. You can see them from two different angles. It's kind of like, you ever remember that painting where it'll look like somebody from the side view, but then also it looks like somebody looking at you straight? Each of these characters, I know it looks like nothing here, but you see them from the side, like there's the eye, there's the mouth, but then it's also see them as if they're looking straight at you. I have no idea why this was put forth. All I can do is immediately recognize, the creeps are in love with their 2-into-1 religion, merging duality into one, and that's what these babysitters of souls before they send them to Earth are. They're very strange. They went out of their way to make sure these things or beings in no way are tied to anything we would understand from the earthly plane. I don't know exactly what's being communicated here, but maybe we'll circle back on that. So Joe is here, and all these little baby souls look like number 22 here. They just look like little infant souls. They're about to go to Earth. So they assume he's a mentor. Okay, we'll get into that, what these mentors are, because he certainly should. He looks a little bit older. He shouldn't be here. But he got here by mistake by just refusing to go into the great beyond. And this character here actually he's the accountant, and he accounts for, as he says very clearly, 150-some thousand souls a day die. And he's like, the count is off. And at this point, he doesn't realize the count is off. This one's called Terry. All these are called Jerrys. Every single one of these is called the same name, Jerry. He doesn't realize the count is off because of Joe here, who just refused to go to the great beyond. They think he's a mentor. We'll talk about that later. Multiple ideas of what mentoring may be all about. But let's just try to wrap up the plot. Yeah, right. Okay. It is very complicated. It seems so simple when you just watch the trailer, and it is not that simple at all. Okay. Well, this one apparently, number 22, apparently has done many stints on Earth, but has yet to find her spark. And as number 22, she's one of the original souls, because they show the announcing of souls going down to the portal to Earth. And soul number 1 billion or 5 billion 300, and so she's number 22. Okay, yes, the occult meaning of 22. I don't understand the esoteric nature of all the creepy numbers they throw around. I don't really care. So there's probably something to that, but so what? It's number 20. So she's tried this many times. She's had mentors as Socrates and Albert Einstein. She's had mentors. This mentoring thing we have to talk about because it is not consistent with the whole theme of the movie. A lot of souls just go down, the little baby souls go down without any mentor. What is this mentoring all about? We'll have to talk about that. So she doesn't want to go to Earth, but he kind of camps onto her like she's my way to get to Earth because he tries to jump down there many times on his own. He can't get there. He just keeps winding back up in the same place. Like the reality detects he's not supposed to be going back down there. He's already been there. She keeps being recycled back to the great before where they prepare the little souls for Earth. So he's going to use her, and in the end, she ends up using him. But through some shenanigans and things they're not supposed to do, let's see if I can find the cat. Things they're not supposed to do. They plunge down through the portal to Earth, and there's a mix-up, and it's well done how they do this. Very well done. Joe finds himself in the body of this cat, and little 22 here finds himself in a man that's 50 or approaching 50, a jazz musician. She doesn't even know how to walk with the body when she gets in. She can hear the cat, sounds just like the actor, but everybody else around them just hears a cat hissing and meowing and purring. It's very well done. It really is very well done. And again, the feel of scene by scene, I'll just, again, I'm going to give it a little bit of credit. And it's not going to sound like Matt reviewing a malt frisbee movie, but it's what a Pixar film used to be. The original, there's some incredibly fun scenes in the original Incredibles, or I know there's a lot of dark stuff in some Pixar movies, guys. Who you talking to here? I know. I study dark reality 7 days a week, but it's what a Pixar movie, what we remember when the world was kind of like just resembled normal. It brings you back to that. There's a nostalgia that like, okay, this is what a Pixar movie is supposed to be. And the fact that they can make this now proves the last 3 Star Wars were made bad on purpose. I mean, they just didn't lose. This is I don't want to call it a masterpiece, but if you find that third level of it, the meaning, give it, tells it presents a certain meaning of life that people ignore, the feeling you get is very positive. All right. So if they're able to put this, if you just watch it first level, you walk out and you go, yeah, it's a cute movie. Well done. It looked like a Pixar movie. It's what I expect from Pixar. I'm glad we paid the money for it. It was cute. But if you get the second and third meaning or whatever, this movie is extremely well done if you take the meanings out, which might take more than one viewing. But even if you watch it first level, you go, yeah, that's what a Pixar movie should be and what I remember in the, quote, old world. So just the fact that this is made proves that, the creativity here of course, Walt Frisbee has access to the most creative minds ever assembled in the history of the world. I don't want to do this tangent on Star Wars, but it just proves even more that the last 3 Star Wars were made bad on purpose. We'll talk about that some other time. And the plot is actually too confusing to just discuss. I'm just going to stop doing that and start talking about the potential meanings, different level meanings that this movie is presenting. So I couldn't find a great picture of it, but before the little souls are sent down to Earth, they have to fill in they have like this badge on their chest that looks like this, okay? And this would be 7 circles. And each circle has to be filled in, their personality traits filled in, but the missing one is their spark, all right? They have to find their spark. And they get to test and try out everything. They get to try archery. They get to try being a judge or a lawyer and whatever they want to do or whatever their passion is going to be. In the case, Joe's case, jazz musician. And this one always number 22 avoids going back to Earth because she always says, well, I can't find my spark. Okay, it seems like the movie is going to be about finding what moves you in this world. Joe's love of jazz, and that's where it seems to be going, but that's absolutely not where it ends up. So, somehow through their shenanigans, they get down to earth without going through the regular mechanism of finding your spark. And again, that gets a little bit confusing. But a big theme is find your spark, your meaning, and that's not what the movie, the meaning of the movie is about at all. Because once Joe, here he finally gets his chance to play with Dorothea Williams, he comes out and he's like, well, I just accomplished my life's dream, but I don't feel any different. He rides the subway. It's the same old subway. And it's actually, it's the little, he's supposed to be kind of mentoring the little 22 here, but it's the 22 that ends up mentoring Joe, because although it is, again, it's a little confusing. Well, if she's been on Earth so many times with mentors such as Abraham Lincoln and Socrates and Einstein, why is she, completely in love with every little part of life that she seems to have never experienced before? The first bite of a slice of pizza, Matt, that pizza must mean something. I'm not going there, okay? Pizza's pretty damn good the first time you bite into it. I don't think it's an inappropriate use of what food. She's acting all cool that, oh my gosh, this experience is incredible, and she just looking at the stars or picking a flower or walking. She thinks all these things that we find pedestrian or rudimentary or just normal or common or average, she thinks they're wonderful. And that's one of the main themes, no doubt, of the movie is, things we've been talking about a lot recently in the last few months. Just find incredible fulfillment and fascination and meaning and joy in the tiniest little things. Tiniest little things. I had an email exchange with somebody recently, and it was like, yeah, I can just sit. I could sit if if there's a spider building a web, I'll pull a chair up and I'll just watch it. And 5-7 years ago, I would have just a spider web, gotten the broom out and just raked it off my sliding glass door. There's no way I would ever do that today. I'll sit down, I'll watch it, I'll put my hand out. And the spider, many of these, I call these super spiders, they just move real fast. They have little stripes, maybe a little poisonous. They'll jump on my hand. There's just that sort of thing. So she's going, isn't this incredible? Picking a flower, isn't this incredible? And but it's like, well, what's with all these mentors? She's been on Earth many times or not? Because she finds incredible joy in the simplest of things. And Joe's like, at first, Joe's jaded, and he's like, well, that's not your spark. Like, your spark's not just picking a flower. Or your spark is like, you're going to be a great scientist. Or you're going to be, are you going to deliver hair products and Aquanet to the ISS? What is your spark? And she's like, I don't care. This is incredible to me. Like, look how these fingers work. And he's like, that's not a spark. That's just living. That's just regular day-to-day life. That's just living. And then as the movie evolves, guess what? That is what it's all about. He fulfills what he's supposed to fulfill. He played with Dorothea Williams. He's like, I'm the same old inadequate Joe. I got to take the same old subway home. And she's like, he eventually learns that, the way she acted, she walks across a subway grate and all the hot air's coming and she just lays down on it. No, she's in his body. Remember, he's trapped in the cat. So she's able to do all these things through his body. And she says, isn't this wonderful? All this air's flying up from the sewer. And she's like, you think a sewer grate is a great thing? It's like, that's not a spark. That's just everyday living. And the point is, no, that's the spark. That's the point. That's the point. Where I talked a few months ago about, you can go, I got to take a shower, hun, before we go out. I got to take a shower. You get, oh yeah. Or you could be, before you step into the shower, you could say, this is one of the most incredible things that ever happened to anybody of this species in the history of time. I'm going to do something that 99% of all kings and queens have never done. Well, maybe Louis the 666 might have rigged something up with his endless wealth where they put all this water above his head and they heat it up for 20 hours, and then finally he could stand under it and like mimic a shower, but it wouldn't be the same force or pressure. You can do the drudgery of a shower, or you can decide before you step into a shower that this is one of the most amazing things of all time, and I'm about to do something that 99% of kings, queens, and princes that have ever existed have not been able to do. And remember every bit of that as you're doing it. Or the fact that you could just get through DoorDash, get Thai food delivered, because the guy down the way he has authentic Thai food. He lived in Thailand. It's absolutely, no king and queen could serve that up like that. So is it just like, you're just going to fill your belly, or are you going to appreciate it? Or even the appreciation, people say they talk to their fruit before they eat their fruit. Thank you for delivering me that nutrition, and body, use this nutrition that I'm about to get for this banana effectively, please. That sort of thing. This is what Joe starts to understand is the meaning of life, not finding your spark or what you're good at. It almost seems like the land before is like a deception, because they take these little souls around. Oh, what are you good at? Oh, one little soul makes a basketball hoop, a 3-point shot, and oh, you're going to be a basketball player. So it's almost like the land before is a deception. They're not teaching the little souls to enjoy the little things, the Jerrys that manage little souls. They're just saying, oh, here's what you're going to be good at. Oh, you're going to be a painter in the 3D world. So it's almost like that just, kind of popped out of me. Those that manage, the Jerrys that manage little souls, in many ways, system deceivers, saying this is your spark, but that isn't going to deliver you real meaning. And then they're also kind of nasty, like, well, they take, one's, riding I don't know, it's just a weird depiction of these farmers or these babysitters that manage these souls. One may turn themselves into like a bus and have all these little souls in the bus. And okay, now we're going to go to the personality carousel, and 20 souls go in this tent. And it's actually negative each of the times they send these souls into the personality tents. You will be aloof. Like, you will be, personality-wise, an asshole. You will be, I don't think there's any soul they sent in, these Jerrys sent in, to these little souls saying, oh, this is the personality being incredibly kind and friendly. It's always like, you're going to be obnoxious. You're going to be aloof. You're going to be, so when you watch this, notice where they send these souls, if there's anything positive. And the message that people take away on first level is, well, there's all these pavilions, Matt. I'm sure they're just showing you these souls get negative personality traits, but it's implied that these souls they continue to other pavilions and they get positive personality traits because the world is a mix of all different types. Yeah, that's what comes out. I'm just saying it's odd they didn't have any positive personality traits as these Jerrys are managing the little souls. And I know this is all over the place, guys. I'm going to get, just to wrap them, I'll get to the deeper meanings like what I just presented, and I'm going to look at my notes now. Try not to make this too long. All right, let me get to my notes, which are the most important things that I pulled out of this movie. Of course, the release on Christmas. Everybody who's going to have their own way of interpreting that. I'm just pointing out to those that have been studying the reality the way we have, that there's no question about it that is on purpose related to these types of themes. Everybody can have their own interpretation of that. Of course, the popcorn cruncher would just say, well, that's when they're going to make their most money. Okay, whatever you want to believe. Let's move on. He's a jazz player. All right, jazz. By the way, guys, before I get into these important points, let me just say that one of the things that was so refreshing in this movie, there's no woke politics. There's no constant, he's a black jazz musician who's been in some ways struggling. There is no race politics. No, the man kept him down. It just doesn't exist in this movie. Incredibly surprising in this era and refreshing. So it centers around jazz. Well, that part of it. Look, well, Matt, they used a black guy. Okay, fine. But there's no. It doesn't push anything. That does neither here nor there. The character portrayal with Joe is perfect in this movie. Perfect. And a major part The haircut scene is very, very important in this movie. And like the movies, the movies, barbershop. And there's a difference, guys, between a barbershop, an inner city barbershop in Harlem for black people and what white people. There's a difference, okay? I don't want to get into it. These differences exist, and it's been portrayed in movies, and the way they portray it. There's a scene in this movie. It's very, very important and very well done. But jazz is about its improvisation. That's the theme, improvisation. That's why they use jazz. Because the opening scene in the movie, he's teaching the middle school class. They're all horrible musicians. I mean, just horrible musicians. But one is very good, and the one just loses herself and stands up and starts doing a solo. Everybody laughs at her, but he's like, "That's great what she just." So the improvisation of life, that's the message here, and that's why they used jazz. Now, jazz can have lyrics, but much of jazz does not have lyrics, and when jazz musicians play, many times they don't even know where each other's going, and they follow each other, and there is no script. And that is exactly why they used it, a major theme and a very important lesson in this movie. So when the movie starts out, the note here, he's teaching this horrible middle school class, and they're all horrible musicians except for one Asian girl that plays the trombone extremely well, and she improvises. But behind on the board is they're playing Things Aren't What They Used to Be, the Duke Ellington Band. And of course, I see this right off the bat, and I'm going, this movie's going to be very dark, allusions to what's happening now. And of course, as I said, it wasn't that, but right on the board behind him, Things Ain't What They Used to Be, Duke Ellington, 1942 jazz standard. It says 12-bar blues. Of course, then I look at the clock, 10:33. And the clock is exact, square and compass, and all this stuff starts coming out in the beginning. Maybe they do that in the beginning. Oh, we're gonna mess with these people, and then we're gonna make them think it's a dark movie, and the message is incredibly positive. And I thought, okay, there's also and right off the bat, again, I'm thinking first 2 minutes of this movie, dark, 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 evil, 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 evil. Totally was not right. That was not the case, but there is Joe. Is talking about his past and how he's telling the class, the 8th grade class or whatever, why he's in love with jazz and what happened to him as a child. He sits down at the piano. Oh, let Matt pause this. A strange New York City poster right behind him with towers, and Matt's gonna think to break down. What does that mean? So this is the way I approached watching the movie the second time, and then they flash through his fingers on the keys playing. They flash right back. There's a giant aloe plant right in front of the poster that was not there. Okay, Pixar doesn't make these mistakes. In front of the New York City poster in the background, is it the WTC? No, but it kind of looks like WTC. Flash to him, flash back, an aloe plant. So I researched, what is the aloe plant? The first thing that Google serves up, the way I searched the meaning of the aloe plant, first thing, when Google serves up an answer, you don't even have to click on the web page. It tells you the answer right at the top of the Google search results. Oh, aloe stems back to 1,000 uses, of course, ancient Egypt, the plant of immortality. Really? Okay. Aloe was not there. It's there. It's, quote, a mistake in the movie, but of course it's not a mistake in the movie. It relates to this plant of immortality. It is a creepy insert that only, somebody that put together Lodge 49 and series is going to understand. We're not going to understand, but nevertheless, it's there. It doesn't matter. These little breakdowns don't matter, and that's not what the rest of this. Well, I'm going to have a few more of these, but then we'll get into bigger meanings. Again, not Terry, the one that manages the count on souls, emphasizes 150,000 a day die, so many per minute. And of course, what do I start thinking? I start thinking, is that count any different now? I'd be curious, that count of 150,000 a day, that they're changing the world, completely reinventing in a sick way what the world is now based on this thing. But I bet that count is probably not that much different. Probably not that much different. You know, if one form of death replaced another, you have to lock the whole world down over that. But this is, I don't want to turn this into a C presentation. That's not the point. Again, this movie's very, very positive for the most part and uplifting. And why they have to do that from time to time, we can ponder that some other time. So let's go to, remember I did talk about when they go into the great beyond, they go into the light, it is a bug zapper sound. That is on purpose, and it is not friendly. It is not friendly at all. They go up the escalator, thousands and thousands of souls, little souls that look like Joe here and 22 or whatever going up the escalator, and it's when they hit the light, it's bzz, 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 bug zapper. That's not positive. All right, well, so I don't know exactly what that means here in regard to this movie, but the sense, I'll just tell you, the sense and the sound was very negative. But a first level person watching would not get that. Just, oh, they're just going the great beyond, and that notes when they cross over, when they go through the portal, there's a little zap sound. If you're watching on first level, you wouldn't take anything bad away from that. And maybe I'm reading into it just a bit. Okay, this idea of mentors is very confusing. Makes no sense watching on a first level basis. Maybe we can go to third level and try to figure out what the meaning of this is. And I don't have a good picture of it, guys, so I just have to describe what's going on. Remember, this 22 is 22. That's one of the original souls, because they announced, come up, soul 5,422," which means she just can't get it right. She's still going through the same cycles, this 22. And she said, well, I've had lots of mentors on Earth, and there's a little sticker of each mentor. And Joe here is taking a look at all of 22's mentors. She's been around, I don't know, thousands of years. So again, here would be Abraham Lincoln, Socrates, Einstein, Confucius, or just all these famous names. I didn't see Matt Damon's name on the board. She could have hung out on his movie set as he played himself. I don't see but just all these famous names. And she's kind of down on herself, this 22 soul, because here she is going to be sent back again in the land before, and all these mentors didn't help her, and they told her how none of them liked her. Mother Teresa didn't like her. She's like, the only person Mother Teresa didn't like was me. So it's like a couple weird things going on here. Okay, first off, they show all these souls going down to the portal, down to Earth, there's no mentor. So what is this all about? I have some ideas, but let me just describe the basics first. What is this mentoring? Okay, most souls we see, there is no mentor. What does this even mean? And there's actually a mentoring class where these famous Shakespeare, these famous people from history and science, and people that are all over the news are sitting in this class, and I guess it's a Jerry that presents the class to the mentors, and they're like, you don't realize this, but you've all been here before. I have an idea, guys, as to where this is, and it is a little dark, but you've all been here before, you mentors. And the beauty of going back to Earth and childbirth is you go in, you don't remember a darn thing. And, the pains of childbirth, you just forget. And you've been here before, you're going to do it again. So there's this mentor class, and absolutely separate from... they show these little souls, these little infant souls going down in the thousands. There's no mentor attached to them. So what's that all about? All right. Now, in the end of the day here, Joe, this 22, has tried Earth, so many times. Although that doesn't make sense either, because then again, she's like, this thing called walking is incredible. Well, if you've had so many mentors, you've been down on Earth, well, walking shouldn't be new to you, 22. I don't know. Maybe there's just some holes there that, people like me, people like us spot that we're not supposed to spot. Nevertheless, let's just stay on point here so this doesn't go twice as long as the movie. He ends up mentoring her, but more importantly, she ends up mentoring him. He sees, when he's inside the cat, he sees her experiencing every tiny little pleasure. At one point, I'm trying to find another good picture here. At one point, let me see if I can just do the seed. at one point she's in his body, and the the maple seed comes down. It is similar to like an avatar here. A maple seed comes down into her, and she's in his body, into her hand, and she just thinks the most incredible thing of all time. And he's like, remember, his attitude is always like, that's just living regular life. That ain't nothing special, some seed landing in your hand. But at the end of the day, he realizes that is what's special. Those tiny little moments where you go with the spider web. So the mentors, it's kind of like there's two things potentially going on with the mentors. That they were all majorly accomplished people in this realm. But they failed. It doesn't matter if you have your own Wikipedia page. They said, look at me and look at my Nobel Prize, these mentors. That's not what it's... Joe experienced that. Joe played with Dorothea Williams, and he's like, it's the same old me. That didn't do anything for me. So the mentors weren't able to, potentially one side of it, they weren't able to do anything for the little soul 22 because they're like, here's what I do, and I'm so important. And the movie teaches that walking by and watching a spiderweb build is the most important things in life. And we know that instinctively. That is what is most important. So he mentors her, but she mentors him big time, that he sees at the end all the little, she's like, oh my gosh, this is the first taste of a lollipop. This is incredible. And she saves it. And then he has all the stuff she collected when he finally gets back in his body. All right, it has to end. He pulls all the stuff out of his pocket. She collected a half-eaten bagel, a piece of this, just nothing, stuff we would throw out. And he rates a song to it, and she's like, she thought this was beautiful, the tiniest things in life. She thought, little 22 thought was beautiful. She mentors him, he mentors her. They both ascend or go on to what they need to be to go up to the next level. The mentors didn't do crap for her because they were all into their own Nobel Prizes. And look what Thomas Edison can do. His spark in life is to create alternating direct current that can fry elephants. And, that ain't shit. That ain't shit. So that's not, there's the spark of what you're meant to do. That's not it. That's not what life is about. It's about experiencing, using the senses to experience every little thing, because that's not probably not available to us in any other experience but this life on Earth. Now the mentors could potentially be, the way it was presented, could also be this minion class here that we've talked about. The different, what did I say? Suck the Borg, whatever that, those types of people, the minion class that are potentially a different type of incarnation that are more like trapped here, have past memories, past lives, more recycled to this plane. They kind of have this class inside this movie called the mentors, and I immediately was like, that's the minions. That's the minions of this place. Because they take that class, remember? And the Jerry says, you've been here before, you're going to go do it again. And it's just like, it's more of like a recycling over and over for the mentors, where there's more of a going in, experiencing life, and potentially getting out, at least going into the great beyond for the regular souls. So there's a difference in the presentation between the regular souls and these mentors, which that's the minions. That's George Bush, that's George Clooney, that's Governor Newsom. That's the minions, and then and they differentiated this class, and that's what. But it could also be just also trying to reinforce the lesson that these minions were known for something like their Nobel Prize, and 22 never got anything out of them, never was able to get out of her little recycle situation, because the real meaning of life is the small, absolutely tiniest, moment-to-moment, live-in-the-now moment pleasures, not accomplishments or being remembered or anything like ridiculous like that. Anything associated with the ego of this place is going to be the wrong path. Being remembered for something. I want to be, what have I done to be remembered? That's all ego. Who gives a F? That doesn't mean shit. What if you're remembered for anything? What does it say in, again, the movie, the Tom Cruise movie, The Last Samurai. I mean, huge truth drops, incredibly uplifting movie, incredibly positive. Yes, this can come out of Hollywood from time to time. Why, we don't exactly know. It's not all evil because it came out of Hollywood. That's all evil. No, it's not. He says, Katsumoto says to Tom Cruise, there was someone who, it's spring. The spring thaw is coming. The cherry blossoms, the beautiful Japanese cherry trees and the cherry blossoms. He said there's been a man that tried to spend his life finding the perfect blossom. Spent his entire life trying to find the perfect blossom, and he says it was not a wasted life, or you could be a man trying to find the perfect blossom, and it would not be a wasted life. Now, that is exactly in line with the message here that Soul communicates. This is getting long, guys, so check the movie out, and I'd say let your defenses down a bit. Yeah, I know it's Walt Frisbee, and we're going to have our defenses up, and it's evil. Let your defenses down. Let it flow in. Turn the armor off. It's not going to get you. Trust me. There's nothing. There's no spell here. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I've been sniffing this stuff out a long time, and this is way more positive than it is negative. Let the meanings come into all facets of you as you watch this. And maybe some people, that's a little dangerous, Matt. I should have a little bit of armor on. Okay, I hear you. We are dealing with Walt Frisbee here, and I understand what that means. All right? I ain't going to go giving them any medals and awards. I understand what you understand about them. But I'm just telling you this was the impression I got, and it was the positive impression was double reinforced the second time I watched it. A big part of the movie is the astral traveler, regular people living their lives on Earth. This guy is depicted as like the ultimate hippie. He will travel into the astral. He can communicate with the soul of Joe in 22 in the astral, travels on this big ship, meets with other astral travelers who get together to help lost souls. It's a big part of the movie, and he's depicted as a much greater being in the astral, as this huge ship, as a huge anchor. Where back in the real world, he's just a guy holding a sign up trying to make minimum wage on a street corner. But when he goes in the astral, he's this very powerful being that helps bring lost souls out of their basically a state of purgatory. Can do, he's a great being there. And it talks about the astral as a place that specifically says, quote, it's part way between the physical and the spiritual. Part way between the physical and the spiritual. And I want to get into a little bit about the pretty important concept of lost souls next. Oh, one other thing about the astral that's very important. When Joe's soul is there, 22, the astral traveler, the hippie, but every once in a while you'll see a musician come by, or a basketball player, or a football player, or somebody that they say, well, who are these people? These aren't dead. They're not souls. They're not astral travelers like the hippie. And I don't know who I guess the astral traveler, this guy says, oh, these are people that's called in the zone. When a quartet of flute, cello, violin, and viola perform the concert of their lives, they're almost like they're not even there. Time doesn't exist. They're in the zone. A sports athlete or a golfer that shoots a 59, for example, in this zone, they appear in the astral. They actually appear, their souls, in a part way between the physical and the spiritual. So this is, he says, yeah, sometimes I've given a jazz concert where I'm just in the zone, and this is where you come when you're in the zone. It's a very interesting concept. The concept of the astral traveler on his ship ties in another huge part or presentation in the movie called a lost soul. The main purpose of the astral traveler is to find and help lost souls get back on the right path. And the depiction at the bottom is the way the movie depicts a lost soul. So inside the lost soul is the original light blue soul. There's just this crud starts surrounding, and it gets bigger and bigger as the soul gets more and more lost. 22, at an early part of the movie, puts a pun or a joke out, but we see it as much more than that. She says to Joe about going down to Earth, I guess actually Joe sees the little baby souls getting, playing and getting crushed by something, and they're just, there's no physical to them. They can't be hurt. And she says, "Don't worry about that, Joe. You can't crush a soul here. Nothing can crush a soul here. That's what life on Earth is for, to crush a soul." And it's ha ha ha, but it's a truth drop. You can't crush a soul here in the great before. That's what life on Earth is for. So, very interesting. And the astral traveler saves these lost souls. Even for a while, 22 becomes a lost soul. And the main description of why a soul gets lost, as the movie presents it, is when a certain, an obsession or somebody's initial spark, even something very positive, becomes an obsession. And it shows like the astral traveler putting the restored soul back into a hedge fund trader. And he sits at his desk and goes, "What am I doing here?" He goes, "What am I?" He gets a new sense when he's no longer a lost soul. He turns over his desk, and runs out. He's like, "What am I doing here?" Like, what? So, of course, what struck me, when an original passion or obsession becomes an obsession, when original spark or reason for being becomes an obsession, it creates these monsters, these lost souls. And of course, it hit me. I went, this is where we've all been in the truth community. When originally our passion to find out what's going on, it knows it is our passion to find out what's going on, and it will artificially lay down, per the way the reality does business, a billion breadcrumbs for us to follow. And it's the ultimate. We can't look down at the stockbroker and say he just trades stocks and wants to collect more money and does this 10 hours a day. Look at that lost poor soul. We've done the same things in the truth community, running after every single breadcrumb, analyzing for months what happened to the side of the Pentagon, years. And when it becomes an obsession, according to the movie, one becomes a lost soul. And there's like, yeah, that's us. That's us, and we need to. We're just now realizing it, and we need to get out of it. The barbershop scene is a great scene in the movie. It depicts a stereotypical black, Harlem-style barbershop, inner-city barbershop, with the feel of it is going to be very black and African-American. It's not the white experience. It's not exactly what was depicted in Coming to America with those guys either. But you never met Joe Louis? It's like
he did kick Joe Lewis's ass.
it's not that. But it is obviously these stereotypes exist for a reason. This is real for the most part. It's nothing I've ever experienced. It's a great scene in the movie. Of course, there's already people online saying, soul is stereotypically insensitive or whatever. Of course, they're going to let all these lost souls are going to camp onto that aspect. But see, when Joe's in, Joe here is not Joe. Joe is 22. The 22 soul has implanted into Joe's body, and the Joe is in the cat's body. The cat here, if you can't see, it's sitting on Joe's lap. And this is a real cool guy who's been dealing with a long time. And he's acting completely different because, again, it's 22 in his body. It's this, I don't know, it's a new soul, but it's also an old soul at the same time. And Joe's, for the first time, asking questions, all sorts of questions to the guy cutting his hair. Tell me about yourself. Tell me what do you like to do? How did you become a barber? He's like, why are you asking all these questions? Usually you just want to talk about yourself and your jazz career, because it's not Joe talking. Joe's the cat, and Joe as the cat can talk to 22 in the body of Joe in the chair, but the everybody in the barbershop just sees a cat going making weird noises. It's funny the way they do it, and it's very well done. But everybody, because Joe is completely different, because it's no longer Joe, the whole barbershop is now encapsulated or fixated on what, quote, Joe is saying. And Joe's talking about all sorts of things, because 22 really is kind of an old soul. And he says, well, what changed in you, Joe? Why are you acting so different? And she's not even trying to be act like Joe anymore. She says, well, I was existing as a theoretical construct in a hypothetical way station between life and death. I was existing as a theoretical construct in a hypothetical way station between life and death. So this describes 22 in that in the land before. She can never, she just never can find her spark to get to Earth. And she's speaking as 22, but the whole barber shop just thinks Joe's just a completely new person, and he's I don't know, they're fixated on the brilliance of his presentation. It's just funny the way they do it. Of course, people online are like,
This is racially insensitive.
come on, get over yourself, bunch of morons. Give me a break. That's the system. The not milk system has to do that. They just will have to do that. If they create something good. Or something good. Nothing is squeaked out by mistake. It did come through Walt Frisbee. Something good is created, then it has to be taken down on the back end, so people don't look for the good in it. And then one of the ways to do that, the playbook,
It's racially insensitive.
come on, give me this. I don't know. I'm not even going to bother to look at why they would say that. It's just so pathetic. It's so sad. So Joe says to this guy, he's like, well, you wanted to be a veterinarian, so he kind of says, you feel like a loser? And as 22, Joe completely speaks his mind. He's like, this guy's really cool. He's like, no, man, I love what I do. People sit in this chair, they tell me about themselves. I'm very interested in what they say about themselves. He's like, yeah, I guess it's unfortunate I never had the money to go to veterinarian school, but he's like, I love what I do now. And this is a perfect example of the movie showing he cuts hair. He's happy in what he does. He appreciates little things in life, appreciates that Joe started asking him questions about himself, completely sure and in touch with who he is, not wanting to be who he's not. And this is one of the main meanings of the movie. He's not trying to win the ultimate barber contest. Joe's trying to, when Joe was Joe, before 22 soul was in Joe, Joe's trying to play with the top blues and jazz musicians of New York City, and that's his goal. And this guy he's just comfortable in his own skin, in his own position. And that is one of the main meanings in life that comes out of this movie. And of course, enjoying every single now moment, the beauty in everything. It's exhibited very well by this barbershop scene. One last note that I had here in my notes about the lost soul who is obsessed with something or wants to be the very, very best musician and is just willing to sacrifice everything to be the best musician, sacrifice relationships with the kids, and that's where a lost soul develops. But the other thing I had written down here, where they say the obsession of a lost soul, the obsession with being the best, it, quote, disconnects people from life. And the first thing that popped out to me is Tiger Woods. I mean, a creepy bloke to begin with, no doubt about it. And that whole thing that went down with his wife, it almost seemed like a humiliation ritual staged to a degree, the mug shot. But this is a very cold, callous, and he was kind of built that way, like a cyborg, raised that way. His father pushed his crib into the garage and positioned his head so he could watch golf swings when he was months old. Watch his father hit golf swings. Was raised like a cyborg to do that, and it became basically like a cyborg. Of course, became he doesn't have the majors that Jack Nicklaus has, but this is the best golfer of all time for a lot of different reasons, even though he doesn't have the majors. But this is the perfect example of what he has accomplished, or it disconnects them from life. Absolutely. A lost being like Tiger Woods has been disconnected from life. And, you know, they're limited the way they can present it. But again, they use the stock trader, just trading all day long, little blips, and somehow the astral traveler gets his original soul back in his body, and he's like, what am I doing here? And he just throws his computer off the desk and runs out. So, you know, that's pretty basic way of presenting the concept, but they don't, you know, they only have 2 hours to work with, and it is a good concept to be reinforced. Something else in the notes here. I don't really know how to interpret this. 22, before, you know, she gets into Joe's body, before she really understands the little simple pleasures, or I don't know when she says this, but she says, quote, "Is all this living really worth dying for?" And at the end, she has embraced so many simple pleasures of life that she would see this completely differently. But right off the bat, I wrote it down. It was profound. Is all this living really worth dying for? I don't know exactly how to interpret that. I have to come back to that one because there's definitely something there. If you watch the movie, you know, remember that or write that one down. Is all this living really worth dying for? To me, it's that image of the escalator going into the great beyond, which it's not presented negatively in the movie, but it's not presented positively either. Let me just see if I can do this. Pixar Great Beyond. And see if there's any. There's just very little available because it's a relatively new movie. Let's just do this. Just little Soul Joe on the escalator up to, let's see if I can, up to the light here. And then behind him, as he turns around, there's thousands and thousands coming. And again, the bug zapper, zap, zap, zap. It's not presented very positively. Like you don't look, oh, this light is so welcoming and warm. It's not presented negatively other than the bug zapper. Well, Matt, the bug zapping sounds pretty negative. Well, to the person popcorn cruncher watching on first level, it really isn't. It's supposed to be neutral, and it relates to this. Is all this living really worth dying for? Then which I guess I should describe. What she means is 22 is avoiding going back to Earth. She's doing everything to avoid going back down to Earth. And when she finally goes down in all the simple pleasures, she would say, absolutely, it's worth dying for. But before, you know, she's like, was all this really worth dying for? She's in this holding pattern in the great before, and like you think, well, what's she scared of? What is this great beyond? You know, so there's something there. I haven't quite gotten it. Maybe I never will. But if you watch the movie, it would be worth remembering that. So you've heard me talk about Dances with Wolves a lot over the years as to how positive that is. And recently, a few times, I've talked about The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. And it relates to some parts of Pixar's Soul. And anybody rolling their eyes going, well, Matt, you know, it's not possible. Demonic Hollywood producing positivity with Tom Cruise, that's just not possible. Believe what you want. I don't, maybe they have to do it. Maybe they don't like to do it. Maybe they have to keep a balance. Maybe they have contractual obligations. I'm telling you, it's positive. I don't know why they have to do it, or it doesn't escape Hollywood. They have to do it for some reason. It's not. There's no point in analyzing why. It is what it is. It's positive. There's no question about the Dances with Wolves. By itself proves that positivity has to come out of Hollywood from time to time for whatever the reason. It doesn't matter to analyze the why of it. We're past the who, what, when, where, why, and how. We're at the point where we need to use every bit of information for ourselves, not try to figure out what exactly happened to the side of the Pentagon. Who cares? The point is, he goes to see the Emperor at the end, and if you haven't seen this movie, I'm not going to give anything away. It should be seen by everybody. It's a great movie for a lot of different reasons, including not beyond just the perfect blossom. And the Emperor says, you know, over here is where he dies with Katsumoto dies, and Tom Cruise is talking to the Emperor here, and the Emperor says, "Did you know my old teacher Katsumoto? Were you there at his death? Were you there at the battle?" And he says, yes, I knew Katsumoto, your samurai teacher. And the Emperor says, tell me how he died. And Tom Cruise says, no, I will tell you how he lived. So this is absolutely, I was like, that's exactly what the movie Soul is saying. Tell how he lived his life day by day, and examining a life spent looking for the perfect blossom is not a life wasted. This scene to me, I will tell you how he lived, absolutely relates to the message in Soul. And I think that's it, guys, for now. I don't know how long this will be, but it'll be close to the length of the movie. And I hope they let me load thumbnails, because there's about 50 YouTube videos showing 20 minutes of the HD movie, covering the movie. But they don't cover it in the way we do. Thanks, guys.